So we've got our wonderful Yorick, who came all the way from Mexico and a little bit cold in Britain. So the very first part that we'll be making in this rectangle at the top of the head, it starts where the hair grows and finishes here at the top of the head for balaclava. If you're making a hood, then you can extend and make it longer because we have more room in the hood and it doesn't need to follow the shape of the head. So we are starting with this rectangle here. The yarn I'm going to use is quite chunky. It is a mixture of yarns, and altogether it becomes 100 meters in 50 grams. So if you have just DK yarn, you could use 3.5 millimeter needles probably and pick up cast on about 20 stitches. But because my yarn is chunkier than that, I'm going to do 14 and it should be enough. So 16 stitches for thicker yarn, 20 stitches if you're using DK. I'm holding my needles together to make the very first row easier for myself. This way the stitches won't be very tight on the needles and I won't be struggling. So I need to leave this tail quite long, and I'm using the long tail cast on method to do my stitches. So 2 stitches, are they already? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And this tail is long, we will use it later. Okay, now I pull one of the needles. Now I have the base for my rectangle and I'm starting to build on it. My very first stitch, I just slip on my right needle and then I work knit 1, purl 1, repeat to create one by one ribbing. So I knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl, knit, and purl, knit, and purl, knit, and purl, knit, and purl. And then the last stitch I have to purl regardless of what is the next stitch on my repeat to create this smooth edge without any knots. So this is my very first row. I turn my knitting to the wrong side and then I continue to do the same thing. The very first stitch just goes on my right needle and then I continue to do knit and purl repeat in the same way as I did in my very first row. So knit and purl, knit and purl, knit and purl, knit and purl, and the last stitch is going to be the purl stitch. Okay, and then I turn again and I repeat these 2 steps and I continue until I reach the length of 15 centimeters for a balaclava or 20 centimeters for the hood. Please pause this video and continue to work on your rectangle and I will see you again when it's ready. Okay, so first part is completed. We are on to the next step of our process now. Let's check if it measures 15. Yes. So the length is 15 centimeters. I have cut this yarn here and then I secured it by tying it around the edge so my stitches stay where they are, and then I connected the yarn here to the long tail that we left at the beginning when we cast on our stitches. So we now are going to work along these 3 sides and it will create the body of our balaclava, which will be like this. So it will go one side, the back and the other side, leaving our face open. So these are our 3 sides. This is our, say, left side of the head, then the back, and then the right side. Here we don't need any stitches. So I start with my right side now, and I'm going to pick up some stitches. If you have thin yarn, please pick them up more often, but because my yarn is quite bulky, I'm going to do, I think, 1 stitch from this of the chains that we have on the side. So I will be doing 1 each, but then from time to time maybe I will pick 2. Let us say I pick up 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th one I will pick 2 stitches from this. So one of the stitches I take from this half of the chain, and then the other one I go deeper and pick it up from underneath the whole chain, and then 3 more stitches, 1, 2, and 3. And then I place all the stitches that I had at the top here on my needle, not to lose them. I should have 14 there. Let's check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, and 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. If you have thin yarn and you are worried about losing the stitches, you could place them on a cable or maybe a piece of thread and then transfer them onto your needle. But because my yarn is so bulky, I wasn't worried about losing them, so I just removed the needle, picked up my stitches, then I placed all the stitches here. Oh, I've done a silly thing. Okay, let's take them back. Okay, we need the other needle there. So I'm going to now place them on my left needle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Okay, so now we have the yarn in the right place, and we continue to follow the same repeat that we have established here already. So when I see that this is my knit, I'm going to knit it, and if I see this is my purl stitch, I'm going to purl it. So the very first one is the purl, so I'm going to purl it like this, and then the next one is knit and purl, knit and purl, knit, and just need to make sure my stitches are not twisted, so they're all facing upwards. Purl, knit, and purl, and this is my knot that I connected to my long tail, and then I knit and I hide it on my wrong side, and purl, knit, and purl, and then the next one is knit. It means the next stitch that I'm going to pick up now is now going to be purl, but I'm not making them yet. I'm just picking up these stitches here. So pick 1, 2, and 3 from under these bridges, and the next one I'll do again. I'll pick up 2 the same way as I did on the other side. I picked up 2 here, and then 1, 2, 3 under the chain, and then again I pick up 2, 1 and 2, and again 1, 2, and 3, and then again I pick up 2 of them, 1 and 2. Okay. Now I'm on my wrong side, and now I need to establish the knit 1, purl 1 repeat. And to figure out where I start, I will count from this middle bit, because here they are already established as repeat. So this is my knit. It means this one will be purl, knit, 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 purl. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, I need to start with a purl now. Purl, and even if there is a mistake, it's not a problem, we can correct it later. Okay, so we'll continue to work this knit and purl repeat along our long side of the rectangle. This was my knit and purl, 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 and then knit. Then I have these stitches here, and I continue with the repeat: purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. Oop, lost it, half of my yarn, and then knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, and purl. Okay, this is our wrong side. We are turning it onto the right side, and now we'll continue working back and forth along these 3 sides, following the same repeat. So, and this will create this bit on our head, yeah, because this now will start growing downwards, covering our head. So let me do another row with you. We are on the right side. We'll just continue following the same repeat, and as before, the very first stitch we slip on our right needle. Then we look what we've got here. We have a purl. You might have a different, you might have more stitches here, then maybe yours will start with knit. Just look at what stitch you've got and follow the same pattern. So knit and purl, 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 knit and purl. So you see that you definitely need circular needle for this needles for this project, because doing it on the straight needles would be impossible, as we are working this N shape or U shape. So we need needles that are connected by a cable. Okay, so we are working knit and purl repeat until we reach the end of the row, and then the last stitch we need to purl again, so our edge here will be smooth and nice. Okay, this is our wrong side, and now I continue to do the very same thing. So here, if you look at my stitches, the very first one, you can see it's a purl because it has this little this little how do I even call it? So basically, if you look at the purl stitch as a horizontal line, yeah, and if you look at the knit stitch, you can see 2 vertical lines, or like a little V. So I can see that here my very first stitch is the horizontal line. It means it's a purl stitch. So when I start my repeat, I will be doing purl, knit, purl, knit. So please continue working like this. Right side, wrong side, right side, wrong side, until you reach about 20 centimeters. And then I will see you there. So as we said, this second part, the body of balaclava, should measure around 20 centimeters. And there is an optional thing that you could do, but is probably more valid for a balaclava rather than a hood. So because the back of our head is not straight, it is curved like this, we could make increases and then decreases, but only if you're making a balaclava which is following the shape of the head. If you're making a hood, you already extended this bit here, so yours will be a good shape anyways. And because I didn't want to complicate this tutorial a lot, I'm going to show you this as an option, but you absolutely do not have to make these increases. They are only worked if you are going to make a very tight balaclava that you want to follow the shape of your head, and you want to make increases for this curve and then decreases at the end. But for the hood, it's not necessary. For the hood, you just continue working on your repeat until you reach 20 centimeters on this part of balaclava. I'm on the wrong side now, and all increases and decreases should be done on the right side. So once I reach the right side, I will show you, just in case if you decide to use them as well. Okay, I'm almost there at the end of my row. So as always, the very last stitch I purl, and because of these purls we have a very neat edge here. So I placed 2 stitch markers on the very last stitches of my central part. So you can see now that we have the side part, we have this back part, which is also the central part of our balaclava, and then the other side bit. So I traced my last stitches, these 2 stripes, and I placed the stitch markers on both of them. So when I make my increases, one increase will be just before my first stitch, and the other increase will be just after the second stitch. And I need to add 2 stitches. If I add just one, my repeat will break. So I will just follow my repeat at the beginning of this row, and I will show you how to work these increases if you would like to make them. As I said, you don't have to, only if you wish to have a more curved shape of your balaclava or your hood. So I'm working on my repeat, knit and purl, knit and purl, knit and purl, knit and purl. Okay, now I have reached my line with my stitch marker, and I need to pick up 2 additional stitches to make increases. One of them I just do the twisted yarn over. This is my first increase. The other one, I lift this yarn from my previous row. I lift it on my needle, and then I also twist it. So you can see it's twisted. If I don't twist it, there will be a hole, which I don't want to have. So, and I'm going to place it on my needle, and I'm going to purl it, because this is going to be my purl stitch. And this way, because we picked 2 stitches, now our repeat is not broken. We still will have knit and purl, knit and purl, and then we continue our stitches, knit and purl, knit and purl, knit and purl, knit and purl, knit and purl. Now I have reached my other stitch marker, which is on this central part, which goes all the way from the beginning here, this edge bit here. So I have reached this stitch, so I knit this stitch, and now I need to make 2 increases again. So the very first one, I do the same thing, yarn over and twist it, I then lift the yarn from the previous row. I place it on my needle, but it should be twisted to avoid the hole, and then I need to do this. So my following stitch is purl, so this I'm just making it into the knit stitch, and then I continue purl and knit, purl and knit, purl and knit. So I make these increases 2 or 3 times for my body of the balaclava. If you would like to make increases, please do. So every time you do it, and it can be randomly throughout this body within these 20 centimeters that you make, but they're always made on the right side, and the 2 of them just before this stitch marker and 2 of them right after this stitch marker. I think I have already added 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I've just shown you 5, 6, 7, 8. I have added 8 stitches, and that probably, because my yarn is so bulky, that probably should be enough just for a little bit of curve at the back of my head. So now we continue working on this side of the body. Let me measure what it is now. So at the moment it's just 11 centimeters. I need to make about the same distance. So when I reach 20 centimeters, I will see you there. Okay, so now the body of our balaclava is ready, and it is now mine is measuring 20 centimeters. Well, around 20, yes. And now if we made some increases, now it's time to make decreases. So I'm going to make the amount of stitches on my needles less. And now I'm on the wrong side again. I'm just going to work on my repeat while I'm on the wrong side, and then I will show you the decreases once we reach the right side. So because this balaclava is made top down, it is very convenient in terms of deciding what length you want it to have. You can always, well, you should place it on your head really at this point and see what the length is. It needs to obviously cover your ears, be long enough to cover the ears, but then if you are working on a balaclava, it's time to considering making decreases now at this point, because you don't want to have any room under your chin. But if you are working on a hood, you probably would like to make it longer. I'm going to show you in a second what I mean, because if you are working on a hood, you don't want it very tight around your head and under your chin. So it's worth adding 6, 8, or even 10 rows more to this part. So it's always a good idea to try it on and see how long you want this part to be. So this is our Yorick. Obviously his head is much smaller than ours, but what I mean is when you are working on balaclava, that's it. Once you've reached this length, you stop, make decreases, and you start picking up the stitches for the front. But if you're working on a hood, you want this side to be longer, so when you connect them in the round, you would have more space here. So please try on your balaclava and decide what length you want to have. So I'm going to have mine quite tight around my head, so I'm not going to continue making it further. But if you're working on a hood, probably make 6, 8, or 10 more rows. Okay, because I've made some increases, I need to decrease the stitches, and I'm going to show you how I do this. So first, the first part, which is the side part of my balaclava, I'm not changing anything. I'm just following my repeat, which is purl, knit, until I reach the central part of the balaclava when I had my increases done. Okay. Okay. So now I'm on the central part, which you can see from this stitch marker. I've reached my central part, and now I'm going to knit my stitches two together. It is going to break our repeat, but we will make up for it in our next row. So I'm going to knit this knit stitch and this purl stitch two together. I have decreased my stitches already. Then the same thing with the next one. Knit and purl, knit two together. And the next one again, knit and purl, knit two together. Knit and purl, knit two together. Knit and purl, I'm taking both stitches and I knit them, knit two together. And the very last one, this is my stitch marker here. And I'm on this line now where my stitch marker is. I'm going to knit and purl, knit two together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. I've done this 6 times. I have increased some stitches before, and now I'm decreasing some stitches. And then I continue to work on the side of my balaclava without making any changes. I'm just following the knit and purl repeat here. If you haven't done any increases, you don't have to do anything here. You just decide how long you want this part to be, and then you just make it 20 centimeters for the balaclava, and then maybe 25 or 27 for the hood. You add some more rows, and once you decided you have your length, the length that you prefer, you will start working on adding stitches and knitting in the round, which I'm going to show soon. So we are on the wrong side now. And now this part is our central part where we have decreased our stitches. So now I have all of them purl, which I'm going to change now, because I want to establish again my repeat of knit and purl. So I have knit here, and then this is my purl stitch. So the next one needs to be knit and then purl, and then knit and purl and knit and purl. And now we are back to our repeat. We continue to work the same way as we did before. We are back on our side of balaclava. So when you make your decreases, please make sure that the number of decreases can be divisible by 2. So you can make 6 decreases, or maybe if you increased more stitches, you can make 8 decreases. Just make sure it's an even number so that you can go back to your repeat after your decreases. So now we are on the right side again, and we have established again knit and purl repeat here, and we have decreased some stitches, so this part is slightly narrower, which is going to help us shape the curve at the back of this balaclava. And now we are making this row here, and we are going to add some stitches to the front of our balaclava, which are stitches here under the chin. Okay, so at the moment we have stitches on the side, we have stitches at the back. On this side there is nothing at the front, so we are going to add these stitches right now after this row. So I'm going to knit and purl this row, which is our right side. So knit and purl, knit and purl, knit and purl, knit and purl. Knit and purl. So this is our central part where we made our decreases, and I need to make sure I here pull the thread so I don't have any holes, because we decreased some stitches, so I need to do it quite tightly here to avoid gaps. Okay, so I pull my yarn where I'm in the middle, when I'm in the middle. Okay, so I was almost reached the end of my row, and I'm going to show you how we are going to add our stitches for the front. So if you remember our central part that we started with, our first rectangle, it was 14 stitches. So this is the amount that I'm going to add to our balaclava. If it's a hood and you want a bigger opening for the face, you can add more stitches. You can add 16, 18, up to 20 stitches. Okay, so now we are going to connect this, and then we'll continue working in the round. So I just put my yarn in a loop like this loop, and then I place it on my needle, one, and again I make a loop, place it on my needle, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and then I continue to work on this side of my balaclava. So I'm working knit and purl, knit and purl, knit and purl, knit and purl. And from now on, I'm going to work in the round. So once I reach these stitches, I'm going to continue my repeat, knit and purl, knit and purl, knit and purl, all 14 of them, and then I will continue to work my 1 by 1 ribbing in the round for 10 more centimeters. Please pause your video and I will see you there. Okay, so we have done our last 10 centimeters of this neck section, and it's time to cast off our stitches, and I'm going to use the elastic cast off. So just in case if you have this part pretty narrow, you want to make sure that your edge won't be very tight. So I'm going to show you how I do my elastic cast off. So yarn over, then my next stitch is the purl stitch, so I purl my stitch now, and now I place my yarn over my last stitch, and then I drop it, and after that I also place my previous stitch that was on the right, and I also drop it over this stitch too. My next stitch is the knit, so yarn over, I knit my stitch here, so I have 3 stitches here now, and first I pull this yarn over and I drop it, and then I take this stitch, I pull it over and I drop it. Okay, yarn over, the next stitch is the purl, I purl my stitch. I have 3 stitches here. I take this yarn over and drop it, and I take this stitch over my last stitch and I drop it as well. So here we have this chain, and this bind off is more elastic than the normal one. So again, yarn over, and I knit my stitch. I have 3 stitches now, so I pull this yarn over this stitch and I drop it, and now this stitch over the other stitch and I drop it as well. Now back to 1 stitch on my needle, yarn over, and then I purl my stitch, 3 stitches on my needle. I take this yarn over and put it on top, and then I take this stitch on the right and place it over the left stitch and I drop it. So you can see we have this lovely chain here and this lovely edge, and this is how you will continue to bind off. Once you have finished this, we are on the last step of our project. Actually, we are going to pick up the stitches all around this face opening. I'm going to use contrast yarn here with different colors that I think they will go together. It reminds me of summer berries, all shades of bright colors here. So I will be picking up the stitches around my face opening. So when you do it, if you want to have quite big room here, try to keep your stitches close to each other. This way, this face opening will stay the same size. Or in my case, it's quite big, so I want to make it smaller. So my stitches will be probably picked up from every of these chain spaces, so 1 each. And then I will be working in 1 by 1 rib here on the round, and then I will use, I think, normal bind off, or if I want this edge also to be quite elastic and not very tight, I might use also this elastic bind off that I just showed you. So yes, we are on the last stages of our project. Please finish off this bind off and then pick up the stitches for your face opening here. We're just going under these chain spaces that we have along the edges, and then make in the round several rounds of your 1 by 1 ribbing. And if you want this part, the front part, to be folding, you probably need about 10 centimeters. Maybe let's have a look. So yeah, well, maybe 8. Yes, if you want this part to be folding over, maybe work 8 centimeters of your ribbing here. Or if you want just to have a simple ribbing around without any folding parts, then I think 4 centimeters or even 3 centimeters will be enough. You don't need to have it very wide. Okay, I'm going to take these steps now, and I will meet you at the end to show you my final result. Okay, so I have finished my final part, and I made 1 by 1 ribbing around the face opening here, and I ended up doing it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows, and then the normal traditional bind off, because I want this opening to be quite small to avoid all the wind coming inside. And I'm really fascinated by this yarn, how it changes colors and how it shows all its beauty. I have a little bit left of this yarn as well, and I have quite a lot of this yarn that I worked now, and I want to make a vest, so I didn't want to use all of it for the ribbing, and I think it's quite enough. Let's look at our balaclava. What I like about this design, it just flows one into another. We didn't have to stitch anything. We don't actually have any seams here, so it looks neat, and after being washed it will look even neater. So I made some increases here, just time to get rid of the stitch markers, and made some decreases here, so we have this lovely curve at the back of the head. But if you worked on a hood, you just made this part slightly longer, and then you just knit straight without any increases or decreases. It still will look really beautiful too for the hood rather than balaclava. And yes, I have two ends here, so that I need to hide on the right side. So I sometimes use a crochet hook, or a needle is also good. So, and I just twist it around one of these stitches here on the wrong side, and then once it's twisted 3 or 4 times, it will stay there forever. Nothing will happen to it. Okay, and then I have this end here as well. I'll just go and maybe hide it here along this edge that I have. So I'm just twisting it around, and then this way it will stay secured on the wrong side of my balaclava. I know some people use textile glue to make sure all the ends stay where they should be, but I never do that. I normally just twist them around several times, and I never had problems with any of the ends showing. So now this end from my neck part, I'm going to do the same. I place it on my on my left, wrong side, and I just twist it like this around this stitch. Okay, so thank you for watching this tutorial. Please let me know what you think. I hope it will be useful for somebody. I will be definitely making more balaclavas in the future, probably in different colors. And even if I don't wear them myself, I can always use them as gifts to my friends or colleagues. Well, look at this. Let's try it on our Yorick. Oh, I think he's quite happy with it. And I'm going to add some pictures of myself wearing it as well. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye!